Shalom Aleichem. We're exploring the Sichas, Chelek Chav, volume 20, the third Sicha of Parshas Toldos. This is a Rashi Sicha, and this is another example of how the Rebbe takes a Rashi very seriously. I mean, it boggles the mind every single time. Rashi was nominally seen, as a pshat. There's a pasuk, and Rashi helps you understand it. But the Rebbe reads Rashi; every single word is precise. Every entry is exactly what Rashi should have said in the pshat level, with no deviation. And every entry is necessary, and the pasuk would not be understood without this entry. And there's no other way for Rashi to say it, etc., etc. The precision with which the Rebbe views Rashi, this is a fantastic example of it. So let me bring up the spreadsheet. This is the only page that I'm putting up today. In this one page, I'm going to argue that we have the whole story. So the pasuk says that Yitzchak benches Yaakov. God should give you the blessings of Avram to inherit the land, you and your children, the land which he gave to Avram. The context here is that Yaakov just cheated out the brachas from Esav earlier in the parsha, and through the help of his mother, etc., etc., and he got all these tremendous blessings. Those blessings are already in the bag. And then Esav comes and he realizes he lost his brachas. His father gives him a few brachas, but he lost the brachas. So he's very angry and he hates Yaakov and he wants to kill him. And Rivka finds out prophetically. She decides she's got to get Yaakov out of here. But she doesn't want to tell her husband Yitzchak, who's blind and who has hopes for Esav, that Esav is plotting a murder. So she tells Yitzchak it's a good idea for Yaakov to go anyway to Canaan, to Padan Aram, to leave, to marry the daughters of Lavan. So please tell him to go. So Yitzchak does that. He says it's a good idea. He can't stand the daughters of Canaan. Anyway, he summons Yaakov and sends him on his way. He says, I want you to go to Lavan and marry his daughters, their cousins, etc. And I'm going to give you a bracha. And among the brachas, he gives him this bracha. Hashem should give you the blessings of Avram. To inherit the land. That's the verse. Comes along Rashi and quotes the words from the pasuk, as Rashi does. He has a dibur maskel, a heading which is a quote from the verse, and then he gives his entry, his comment, and the heading is always precise. He chooses the words which are problematic, on which he's going to expound. Rashi chooses the words, the blessings is Avram, es berchas Avram, including the word es. And Rashi says, what are the blessings of Avram is referring to? The blessings that I'll make you a great nation, and people will bless themselves to be like your children. These are the first brachas that Hashem gave Avram back in Lech Lecha. The first brachas that Hashem gave Avram in Torah. Lech Lecha, go. And I'll make you a great nation, and all the nations will bless themselves to be like your children. And Rashi continues, those blessings should be for you. From you shall come that nation and that blessed offspring. That's the language of the Rashi. Seems like a harmless Rashi. But the Rebbe comes along and says, what's the purpose of this whole Rashi? That's a series of questions. I collected it into 5. But the main question is, we don't need any Rashi. And this is question 1. The verse itself says what the bracha is. The verse says, Hashem should give you the blessings of Avraham to inherit the land. You don't need Rashi when the pasuk is explicit. Why do you need any Rashi? Why does Rashi comment? And Rashi says it's a different bracha. It's not this bracha. What do you mean? The pasuk says it's this bracha. It's a big problem, this Rashi. It's a big problem. This question is the main question. There's going to be other questions. But let's focus on this question for a second. If the pasuk says, I'm giving you the bracha of Avram, and the pasuk says, which bracha? To inherit the land, says Rashi, no, I'll tell you which bracha it means. The bracha that he gave Avram by Lech Lecha. I make you a great nation. The nations of the world will bless themselves to be like your children. Why is Rashi deviating from the simple meaning of the verse? This is a big problem, not only to the Rebbe, but the other Mefarshim, the other commentaries on Rashi are bothered by this question. And they attempt to give different answers. One of the answers that they give is that the land, the blessing that's explicit in the pasuk to inherit the land, that's not a bracha, that's a gift. That's a gift. It was already given. So it doesn't really make sense to say I'm giving you the blessing of Abraham and as reference to their inheritance of the land. The land was already given to Abraham. It's already gifted. It's not a blessing. It's already passé, done. In fact, as this verse concludes, to inherit the land, Asher Nasan Elokim LaAvram, which God gave Abraham. He already gave it. So this has to be in a different blessing. That's how some of the Mefarshei Rashi, the commentaries upon Rashi deal with this. But the Rebbe says it's not satisfactory because it's true that God already gave it. He gave it as a promise. He didn't give it as an actual. He didn't really give it. He gave it as a promise. And now Hashem, Yitzchak could give the same bracha to Yaakov because Yaakov's children will actually inherit it. Much like all the brachas that he gave Yaakov and which later Hashem gives Yaakov, which he's giving over the blessing that he gave Avram. Yeah, but for example, by the story of the ladder, he says, I'm giving you those brachas. And it's discussed because there was a promise, and now he's actually confirming it's going to happen. So the Rebbe doesn't like those answers. So we're back to the same question. Why doesn't Rashi stick to the meaning of the straightforward meaning of the verse that the bracha that he gave him is inheritance of the land? What's wrong with that? Why does he come up with something different? In plain English, what's bothering Rashi? That's how you should look at every Rashi, says the Rebbe. What's the problem with the pasuk? And then the Rebbe has another few questions. If something's bothering Rashi, that he decides that it can't mean the blessing of the inheritance, it's got to be a different blessing. Well, why specifically this blessing? There have been, I don't know, a dozen blessings since the beginning of Abraham until now. Abraham himself got many blessings. By Lech Lecha, and then later we went to Mitzrayim, and then when he did the Akedah, Yitzchak got many blessings. Why this blessing? Where's Rashi take it from? Where, of all the blessings, I don't know, let's give a number. There's 10 blessings. He picks one out of the hat. You want to know what's the blessing of Abraham? The blessing, I'll make you a great nation. The blessing that he gave him right at the beginning of the relationship by Lech Lecha. Why? It's totally strange. And then the Rebbe goes further. You see, he's building one on top of the other. Let's assume Rashi decided for whatever reason that this bracha means the bracha of being a great nation. Now, why would he use that original version that Avraham got at Lech Lecha, which was a more general blessing for a great nation without a lot of details, when subsequently there were numerous blessings given to Avraham and to Yitzchak, where he delineated not just a great nation, you're going to be like the stars of the sky and like the sand of the seashore. That's greatness. When Hashem initially told Avram, Lech Lecha v'eschol go gadol, I'll make you a great nation, he didn't say the sand of the seashore, the stars of the sky. He said, I'll make you great. That's a very generic blessing of a great nation. Great meaning in number. Subsequently, there were much grander versions of this bracha, where it indicates the sand of the sky, and if you can't count them, you won't be able to count them. Like I said, this happened numerous times to Avram and Yitzchak. So Yitzchak wants to give a bracha to Yaakov, he has to give him the bracha of Avram. Let him give him his own bracha, which was much bigger, in the same column of greatness, of great numbers. And if you want to go back to Avram, Avram himself has many blessings of greatness, which delineated much more greatness than that first bracha. So what's going on here? Like, why are we stuck on that original bracha? The Rebbe says also that even Yishmael was blessed to be a great nation. Like, this is not such a big deal. If you want to make it stand out, you should say, what are the brachas? Where he send, you'll be like the stars and like the sand. So again, why does he send back to that bracha, which is a rather plain bracha? Question 4, a minor question, but a question nonetheless. Why does Rashi include the word S in the heading, in the Dibur HaMaschil, the bracha of Avraham? Remember, Rashi's very precise in the choice of the header too. And he will only choose words which those words help explain Rashi's entry and Rashi's comment. Those are the words that he's explaining or illuminating or resolving if there's a problem. The pasuk says, "I'll give you the bracha of Avram," but Rashi should just say "Berachas Avram," the blessings of Avram, and explain it. Why does he add the word "es berachas Avram"? To the Rebbe, this is a diuk. This is a precision. This is a nuance. It's precise. It's precise. It didn't have to be there. It says question 5, and my own numbers. Like I said, in the Sicha itself, it comes out a little more than that. What's the whole thing of the second half of the Rashi? This is a real mind-blowing question. What's this whole thing? What's this whole long wordiness? What does this add anything? Rashi says, which bracha did he give? The bracha of Avram, the bracha that Avram got right at the beginning of his relationship with Hashem. I'll make you a great nation, and people will bless themselves to be like your children. That bracha you should have, period. He doesn't have to continue. It's not Rashi's style to repeat himself. He basically repeats himself. Line 2 adds nothing to line 1. Those blessings should be for you. From you will come that nation and that blessed offspring. Okay, Yasher Koyach. I know that we're talking about an offspring and a nation. Why does Rashi do this? This is not his style. He's not wordy. He doesn't repeat himself. This entire line adds nothing, presumably. So these are very, very strong questions, including, and most importantly, the main question: what's bothering Rashi? Leave the verse alone. God will give you the blessings of Abraham. Which ones? The ones that are explicit in the second half of the verse. Why deviate? Why change it? So the Rebbe explains something beautiful and special. And the Rebbe says what's bothering Rashi is something else entirely. There's something that's bothering Rashi. Because again, it seems like there's nothing bothersome about this pasuk. There is something bothersome and curious, and that is that throughout this entire period of time, whenever there were blessings that were given, be it to Avram, later to Yitzchak, the blessings came as a result of something. They were caused by something. There was a reason for it. There wasn't ever a concept in the Torah so far where Hashem shows up and says, "Let me give you a bracha. How you doing? Here's a bracha." There's a reason. For example, when Hashem asked him to leave his land and he went, that was a big sacrifice. He gave him a bracha to counter the fact that he's traveling. Later, when he went to Bris Ben Habesadim, the covenant, they gave him a bracha. Later, when he took Yitzchak to the Akedah, he gave him tremendous brachas as a reward. It says clearly, I'm giving you all these brachas, a whole list. Because you listened to me and you did this. So each wing has a reason. And the Yitzchak also, we have in this week's parsha, similar thing. That the brachas came because he asked him that he has to stay in this land and not go out of Eretz Yisrael. And he needs an extra bracha. There's a reason for every bracha. There's an explanation. This is, according to the Rebbe, this is the innovation of the Sicha. This is the turning point. This is the aha. What's bothering Rashi is, find me any bracha in Pshat, in the text of the Torah, until now, where the bracha came in a vacuum. There isn't such a thing. So what's this bracha about? He just gave a bracha 5 minutes ago. When Yaakov came and robbed the bracha from Esav, he gave him a bracha off the charts. Gave him everything. Then you can say, well, Rivka wants him, he's going to get married, he needs another bracha for the shidduch. He gave him that too. The pasuk right before this, he says that Hashem should multiply you, he should multiply you, make you great, which is a bracha for marriage. What is this bracha? A new bracha. Yitan lecha is berachas Avram. Should give you the bracha of Avram. He doesn't have enough brachas. I mean, what's triggering this extra bracha? It's an extra bracha. It's a different bracha. It's a bracha of Avram. What's triggering it? What? So the Rebbe says what's triggering it is the fact that he's now being told to leave and to go somewhere else. It's very similar to Avram's test of Lech Lecha. These were holy tzaddikim in a decrepit world, and basically you want to stay in a place of holiness or decency. When Avram left, it was a big test. In the physical sense, because you leave, and the language is that when you travel, you're diminished as a family. You don't have a large family. Simply because you're traveling, you're not established. And Memaitis Hashem, it diminishes your good reputation and your family's reputation. It's not the best way to build a reputation in those days. Remember, it's a world of there's no social media. You show up, no one knows you. And it's a huge test that he had to leave because we're talking about going to lands of idolatry, whatever he went away to. And here Yaakov is leaving. It's a holy little family, and he's leaving and going to Chodom, which is unholy, and Charoy Naf, it's an unholy place, and that's where he's going to spend years, 22 years he was, and that's where he's going to get married and build his life and build his family. This is a huge test. It's not unlike the test of Lech Lecha. He needs a new bracha. Is this not brilliant? None of the Mepharshim thought of this till the Rebbe came along. And it's right in the text. The language by Avraham is Lech Lecha, go. Go, go, go. It's hard to go. It turns away certain blessings, but you go and you will have all those blessings. And the same language is here. Kum lech padan, go. I don't want to go. Who wants to go away from Yitzchak and the environment of holiness? Let's assume we probably had a big yeshiva. They were doing all kind of holy things, and I should go to Charan alone? It's a test physically, spiritually, and everything. So Yitzchak, in addition to giving him all the other blessings that he gave him before because of the vast eternal plan that he had to get the brachas from Esau. That was triggered by another reason, because he gave him the food, which represented the invitation to that bracha. And then in addition to the brachas that he gave him in the verse prior, the kasha that got you multiply, you should be a great nation, which was triggered by the fact that he's going to get married. He's a bracha for a big family. He adds one more bracha, and this bracha is really, it's pasha brilliant, is the bracha for Lech Lecha. Lech padan aram. The shidduch is not coming to you. I'm not even doing what Avram did for me and sending a shliach to bring the shidduch. I'm sending you, one of the Avos, the holy tzaddikim. I'm sending you to Charan, to an unholy place, far away from home. Lech padan aram, Lech Lecha. It's a test. It's a challenge, spiritually, materially, in every way. I'm going to give you the same bracha that Hashem gave Avram with the test of Lech Lecha. And therefore the pasuk says, "V'yitin lecha es birchas Abraham." I'm going to give you the blessing of Abraham. And Rashi includes this in the entry in the title, es birchas Abraham, answering question number 4. The bracha of Abraham, not a bracha of Abraham. Abraham had many brachas that he got. Here he's giving him the bracha of Abraham, the one that's relevant, the one that fits in here, the one that's exactly correlates to the Lech Lecha, the Lech padan aram. And which bracha did Avraham get when he had to go? He got the bracha to be the antidote to what traveling does. Traveling diminishes your children and diminishes your reputation of you and your family. And Avraham was told, no, in spite of that, by miracle, Eschal the Gadol, you'll be a mighty nation, a big nation, and you'll be well known. You will not lose not family growth and not reputation against the rules of nature, because you're going on Hashem shlichus, and therefore Yaakov gets those same brachas passed down by his father to him. As Rashi says, which brachas is the blessings of Avram that are relevant here? Those 2 brachas. So what did we answer? We answered now questions 1 through 4. We answered now questions 1 through 4. Why doesn't he say, so let's go through them. Why doesn't he say that brachas are what the text itself says? The inheritance of the land. What triggered it? What's the context? Remember, the Rebbe concluded that every bracha comes at the heels of something that inspired it, that triggered it. So it can't be that. got to be something else. Why specifically this bracha? Aha! Because this is exactly the bracha of Lech Paden Aram, the bracha of Lech Lecha. That's why, question 3, we don't mention any other places where there's all kind of grand expressions of great nations, and you'll be like the stars of the sky and the sea of the shore, and the bracha that he gave to Avram, and the same bracha that he gave to Yitzchak. Parenthetically, he also gave brachas for great nations to Yishmael. None of this is impressive to us now. This is not just a regular bracha of a great nation. This is a bracha that will counter the Lech Lecha, and therefore it's specific to that particular time frame. Question 4, we already answered. And the Rebbe explains, I'm jumping now to the end of the Sicha for a second. I'm going out of order for a second because I think this helps a lot. Focusing in on question 3. So now we explain why he chose that particular bracha. In spite of the fact that the bracha for a great nation is mentioned numerous times, and in other places is mentioned in a much more highlighted fashion. Stars in the sand. He specifically chooses the one that Abraham got by Lech Lecha, because Yitzchak is going now on the journey of Lech Lecha. At the end of the Sicha, the Rebbe says not only does he choose it because that's the context of Lech Lecha, and here he's telling a Lech, but qualitatively that bracha, in a sense, is greater than all the other brachas that he later got for a great nation. You might ask why. What do you mean? Hashem told Avram, I'll make you a great nation. He didn't say like the stars in the sand. And later he told Avram, you're going to be the stars in the sand. You'll be uncountable. And later he told it to Yitzchak again. How is Lech Lecha's bracha escha legoy gadol? So the Rebbe at the end of the Sicha, it's a very little small part right at the end, but it's so sweet. The Rebbe argues, wants to suggest that the bracha of Lech Lecha is a qualitative bracha of a great nation, that none of the other brachas of a great nation, not to Avram, not to Yitzchak, has that quality. In spite of the fact that later they talk about stars and sand, but they're missing a certain quality, which gives this bracha an edge on all the brachas promised for great nations, including, of course, Yishmael, but also the brachas of Abraham and Yitzchak for a great nation that were given later. Namely, what's greater about this bracha specifically? So the Rebbe says, a great nation can mean that there's going to be a lot of people coming forth from my progeny, but not necessarily that they're going to trace themselves back to me, and that I'm going to be a great nation. Many peoples will come from me. That's a bracha too. The special bracha of Lech Lecha is not just a numbers game. It's a qualitative bracha. They're going to be the nation of Avraham. They're going to represent you. They're going to identify as your nation. That bracha is not later on anywhere. Later, when he tells them the stars of the sky and the sea, and the sand of the sea, and the same bracha was given to Yitzchak. It's a quantity bracha. You're going to have a lot. Maybe it means also influential. Whatever the Mefarshim, how they explain those brachas. And similarly, the bracha that was given to Yishmael. Yishmael was also told, Nesatev legoy gadol, I'll make you a great nation. Big numbers will come from you, but they're not going to necessarily identify with you as their nation. The bracha that Avram got upon Lech Lecha, qualitatively, is the biggest. Escha legoy gadol, you will be a great nation. I'm going to suggest, although I didn't verify it clearly in the Sicha, that it links with the second bracha, that everybody will pride themselves with you and your children, which means reputation, because your nation will be famous. Your nation will be big, and for all generations, not just the big numbers, but there will be a big Abrahamic nation. They're going to identify with you. And that's the bracha he's giving Yaakov, which in fact came true in Yaakov. The Jewish people are called Bnei Yisrael. So the questions are answered in a solid way. So let's go through now further. The Rebbe expands on it further. So this explains question 1 to 4. Also, what about question 5? We explained 1 to 4 why we need a Rashi and why he specifically chooses that bracha, etc., etc. But what's the thing with the second half of the Rashi, which is so long-winded? As we said, it doesn't add anything, seemingly. So the Rebbe says that Yitzchak is now telling Yaakov, I'm going to give you the brachas of Avraham, the bracha of Lech Lecha. Yaakov has to be thinking, but that bracha never happened. Avraham was promised a great nation and a lot of kids. He didn't have a lot of kids. He was barren for a long time. He had one lone kid, and then he had another kid eventually. You can't quite call it a big nation. You didn't see that there's a bracha period by him. And also this idea of having a good reputation for your kids, we don't find that. The only thing we know about his children's reputation is that Yishmael was known as a pet Adam, as somebody everybody was afraid of. Everybody stayed away from him. So neither one of these brachas happened. So Yaakov has to be thinking, Yitzchak, father, papa, you're giving me this bracha of Avram. Two things that never happened. You're giving me nothing. Therefore, Rashi continues. It's great. I don't know. I laugh because it's Pashut brilliance, like music. It's poetry, the way that Rebbe reads a Rashi. Rashi turns around and says, I know you're thinking, Yitzchak is saying to Yaakov, the brachas never happened. You're right. Those brachas were for you. They're going to happen to you. Don't wonder why they never happened. Those brachas should be for you. From you will come that nation and that offspring. And therefore, and that's exactly what happened. Yaakov had 12 children suddenly, plus Dinah. You could say he had a family, Kenahara, and they were all tzaddikim. There was no Yishmael, there's no pet Adams, etc., etc. People weren't all of them. People knew of them, etc. This bracha will happen to you. So this answers a big problem. You're giving me a bracha that never happened. It didn't happen because it was really meant for you. Like a recessive gene in Avram passed down for Yitzchak to Yaakov. Therefore, there's a need to say it. The Rebbe explains further, parenthetically almost. Yaakov has to be wondering, you're sending me off to marry a wife, and the traveling is not a comfortable thing, and the Gashmis and Baruchnius, as we said before at length, especially at Tzaddik and living in these decrepit times. Avram didn't do that to you, Papa. He sent Eliezer to go find the wife brought him home. Because you would assume the son of Avram, such a holy person, and such a rich person. I mean, the wealth wasn't ever an issue. Not by Avram and not by Yitzchak. You don't send the prince off to a foreign land to go find his wife. He stays home, they bring the wife. That's what happened by Yitzchak. He didn't go. Eliezer went and brought him back. So why are you treating me differently? This is by the Rebbe is like a side thing, but it's a very strong question. Some of you might be thinking, says the Rebbe, that we know Yitzchak couldn't leave the land because he was Oila Tmima, that there was a special reason why he couldn't leave because he was a carbon and he became holy. He couldn't leave Eretz Yisrael. But this, says the Rebbe, in the pshat level of Torah, is not known. Was not known at the time of Yitzchak Shidduch. That was told later to Yitzchak when he wanted to go down to Mitzrayim, and he was told you can't leave because Gur Ba'aretz Hazos. So that conversation on the pshat level, when did Hashem reveal to the Yavos that Yitzchak is an Oila Tmima, and that's why he can't leave? That was revealed at the beginning of Toldos. First Aliyah of Toldos, Gur Ba'aretz Hazos, don't leave, and Rashi says, because Chutz La'aretz Eini Kedailach, you don't belong in diaspora, you're too holy. But at the time of the Shidduch, which is the beginning of last week's Parsha, the Yavos presumably did not know about it, at least in the pshat level. And therefore that can't be the reason that Yitzchak couldn't go. Presumably Yitzchak didn't go because he's a prince. He's royalty. He doesn't go look for a shit that they bring him to him. Suddenly he's taking Yaakov and you're sending him off. This is a problem. The Rebbe, from what I understand, the Rebbe is saying it's a problem almost in pshat. It should be addressed. Now we know that Rivka was doing this because she was afraid for Yaakov's life. But she didn't tell her husband that. She knew because she was a bigger Navi than he was, as the Emois were greater than their husbands in prophecy. So she knew something that he didn't know, and she wasn't going to hurt him by telling him that he has an older son who he had hopes for, that he's a potential murderer. So for sure she didn't tell him. B'chlal, high-level people, they talk less. And they say whatever needs to be said. It's certainly not a bad thing. She's not telling him that. She told him a business that we have to send them away. So Yitzchak and Yaakov, between the two of them, they have to be wondering, why are you doing this to my mission? Why are you sending me? Why are you sending an agent? But now we know there's a lech lecha going on here. You're going to have tremendous brachas. And as we already explained, there's a qualitative edge to this bracha that didn't exist by any of the other brachas that Hashem gave Avraham and Yitzchak. Even the ones for great nations, those were quantity brachas. There's a quality bracha. Aha! A nation that will carry your name and that will identify as you and will beyond. Apparently, that first bracha of Lech Lecha is huge in Jewish history. And therefore, it's worth sending you away for that because you're going to have that bracha by the test and the hardship, and every Nisayan brings greater brachas of Lech Padan Aram. Not unlike the Lech Lecha of Avram. The Rabbi delineates, this also explains why. What's the big deal about this bracha? If Yishmael and Esau both were given similar brachas, no. This is a different type of bracha. This is a bracha that was given to Abraham upon Lech Lecha. A bracha that will exist in spite of the travels. And no one ever got that bracha except Avraham. And that bracha is not going to Yishmael and Esav, even though they're Avraham's children. And this explains, says the Rebbe, further, question 5, why Rashi has to emphasize those brachas should be for you. From you will come that nation and that blessed offspring. It's a further reason why he has to say it. There's other offspring of Avraham. He has Esav and has Yishmael. And both of them were given the bracha of a great nation. Yes, but not the bracha of a great nation as a response to Lech Lecha, to journeying, which is a much greater bracha of a great nation. 2 reasons we already know. One is because it's overcompensating for something that naturally it should not work out because you're traveling. So it's a much greater bracha. Yishmael and Esau didn't get that bracha. And plus, as we said earlier, from the end of the Sicha, and I think that's an important piece, that this is a different type of bracha. It's a bracha that they will all generations will call themselves the people of Abraham, or as it were, the people of Yaakov, people of Yisrael, Bnei Yisrael. There's no such thing. The descendants of Yishmael and Esav don't carry the name. There brings the footnotes that the Arabs that we have today are probably not even descendants of Yishmael. Yes, he had a lot of nations coming from him, but they didn't circle back to him. Whereas Bnei Yisrael, we're Bnei Yisrael. That's who we are. It's a different bracha. And therefore, we need the long-windedness of the second half of the Rashi. Those blessings should be for you. Yes, the Yishmael and Esav also got brachas that sound similar, but they're not those brachas. Precision is perfect. They're not Esperchas Avram. They're not the one and only bracha that Avram got in connection to the similar test that you're getting. And perhaps that was alluding the bracha, the first bracha, the bracha, the challenge of halicha baderech, of journeying, which I said earlier has a different qualitative edge, which on my spreadsheet I put on the bottom of the screen. I jumped it up early because I felt like it's part of the explanation of why this bracha is so different. And then the Rebbe says, okay, this is all good. It's gewaldic, it's not good. But at the same time, we still left with the problem that the verse itself, if you look on top of the screen, the actual pasuk says, I'm going to give you the bracha of Avraham to inherit the land of your sojourning. So what happened with that? It doesn't. That's not the bracha of Avraham. The bracha of Avraham means Lech Lecha. But it says in the text to inherit the land. Why does it say that? Why does it say that if it's not what it means? This is a big problem. This is a huge problem, Pshat. The text says, I'll give you the bracha of Avraham to inherit the land. Rashi says, no, that's not what it means. It means that the bracha of Avraham, the Eschal Gadol, whatever it says in Lech Lecha. The rest of the pasuk, Lidish Tachar says Megurecha, to inherit the land. What's that? What's that doing there? So this is another brilliant blow, mind-blowing. The Rebbe says, Yaakov is being told by his father, I want you to know that I realize that you're leaving the land And you're leaving it for a period of time. You're gonna get married, build a family. Turned out to be 22 years. It's a whole generation. And meantime, your brother Esav is staying here. And he's building his family, and he's getting married, and he's settling in Eretz Yisrael. So you may worry that you're going to lose the promise of Abraham, that you're going to get these other brachas, but you're going to lose the inheritance of the land because your brother's going to lay stake to it. Don't worry about it. That is not going to change. You will not lose the ownership of the land. That bracha is also yours and exclusively yours, which was already given by V'yitin Lecha, I'm assuming. V'yitin Lecha likim mitala shemayim shmani haaretz. I think that's what it says in the Sicha. But that bracha is going to be yours too. But it's here only to say that you shouldn't be worried about it. It's not going to go away. So this is all pretty wild stuff. I want to just suggest, I give the share in my own community, and the people want to know what's the takeaway. What's the bottom line? What's the message Baruchnis? I mean, the message, in a simple sense, is the way you learn Torah, the way you learn Rashi, the way the Rebbe reveals things that are unbelievable. It's Gilei Lakus, and some of us are old enough to remember when the Rashis were taught. I don't remember this Rashi, but I remember sitting and listening to Rashis, and it's extraordinary. But I think that the end of the Sicha, going back to that Vart, is very important. The Rebbe is saying that the brachas of the great nation that Avraham and now Yaakov is getting, those same brachas. Namely, you're going to be a great nation in a qualitative way, different than any other brachas that were given later to Avraham and Yitzchak, etc. The stars and the sand, they don't hold a candle to that bracha, because those are the brachas which identify all the Yidden as Bnei Yisrael, as connected to Avraham's people. That is directly, thematically connected to Lech Lecha. Because Lech Lecha means that you're relying on a miracle. Nobody travels, especially in those days, and keeps moving if they want to establish themselves and become famous and great. It's not what you do. It's against the rules of nature. It's a miracle. And therefore, that bracha, it represented a real Mesiras Nefesh. He trusted Hashem. It was considered by Abraham a big test. Presumably this for Yaakov was a big test. And it represents that he's not relying on nature. He's not doing what's prudent and what makes sense and what will work according to the system. He's trusting in Hashem. In this case, he's trusting Yitzchak the Navi, his father. And therefore, he's not living by the rules of nature. And therefore, his bracha will be supernatural. This is my own suggestion. I think is a lot more loaded in the Rebbe's explanation at the end of the Sicha, that this bracha of a great nation is much greater qualitatively, because as Chelek it will be your nation. They're going to be the Abrahamic people. They're going to be Bnei Yisrael people. They're not just going to be a lot of numbers that happen to come from you in future generations, unrelated to you. No, they're going to identify as you. That too is a miracle. Just like Lech Lecha is the best way to destroy progeny and growth and reputation. And Hashem said, no, it won't, because you're relying on me. You're playing by my rules. Miraculously, it's a miraculous nation. Similarly, the concept of the idea that for 140 generations that we are Kinahar already, that we are all still Bnei Yisrael. That's what we are. The Goyim know it, the Seni Yisrael know it, and we know it. We're not just a bunch of people who happen to have Jewish roots. You're not going to find that by any nation. No such thing. Eventually, it peters out. And here, wherever we go, all over the world, 138, 140 generations since Avraham Avinu, and that's what a Yid is, Bnei Yisrael. This is not natural. Lech Lecha triggered that. Lech Lecha triggered that. And perhaps you can connect the dots even further. Why did Lech Lecha trigger it? Because Lech Lecha is Emunah. You're going with Mesiras Nefesh, you're leaving it up to Hashem. And therefore, it's going to be miraculous. The two things that normally should not work when you're traveling, namely progeny and a good reputation. And therefore, you will have those, and you will have those in a way that makes your name grand, which means that all carry your name. And what's the name of Abraham? Why does Abraham want his name to be great? As Rashi explains there, because as the Rebbe explains rather in the Sichas that we learned recently, when Abraham's name is big, Because Hashem's name is big. Avram doesn't need a name. He's not interested in his own fame. He wants to be famous because that means Hashem's famous. And in fact, that's the mission of the Jewish nation throughout history. We made that. We're the testimony of the existence of Hashem. That's why whoever hates Hashem hates us. So it all came true. Right to Hashem said, you're going to behave supernaturally. You're going to do things that destroy your name, destroy your nation, destroy your reputation. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to become a nation that's timeless and eternal, and you're going to have a great reputation. A reputation that's going to carry your name, Avraham, or as it were, Yisrael, Yaakov, forever and ever. No one else managed to do that miracle. And what does the name Yisrael really mean? The name of Hashem. Because Eschol, the Goy Gadol, as the Rebbe explained to us, means Hashem's great name. I don't think this is such a big stretch to say that this is really what's happening here in the spirit of this Sicha, even though it's not explicit. I shut this.